The first piece of news that I wanted to talk about today is, yes, they have officially announced that we are getting Pokemon Fire Red and Leaf Green back on Nintendo platforms. What's happening is Nintendo has decided. So what really happened here? What really happened here is that Pokemon Day is a big day. Pokemon Day is once a year where they celebrate the anniversary of Pokemon, and this year specifically is like their big day because it's their 30th anniversary. And because it's the 30th anniversary, we gotta expect it's like really big things that are happening, really huge, monumental announcements. And you know, we're expecting, when are we getting Pokemon XD? When are we getting Coliseum to the NSO? But one of the surprises out of the gate, which we heard was a leak a couple days, maybe a day or two before the news actually came out, was that Fire Red and Leaf Green were gonna be coming out for the Switch. Now, that's interesting. That's an interesting thing to do, and it would have been a very nice surprise during the event. But there's two thought processes behind it. One, it was leaked, so they kind of had to like go and start doing the marketing like that right away. And there's a lot of things that make you believe that, because as soon as they just drop this bomb on everybody saying like, hey, you can play Pokemon Fire Red and Leaf Green, and it's gonna release the day of the Pokemon Day presentation, makes you feel like they were gonna shadow drop it. Now that's crazy, but and that would have been great. Everybody would have ran to the eShop, would have downloaded, and everything. But there's a catch, or the way that makes me think that that's not their initial plan was that not only was it leaked beforehand, but when they decided to go ahead and go with the marketing material and accidentally upload the eShop data to it, it included Pokemon Home compatibility in it, and then after like an hour or so, they took that part out of the listing. So maybe they're trying to save that portion for the actual event. Now, my mind of this will go down later while we're in the prediction section on why that might be happening. But for right now, I think what they decided to really do is to let's put this out. There's a lot of good press about this. You want to build up hype. You want to build up a lot of hype for Pokemon. Pokemon Day tends to be very Pokemon heavy, like only the fans of that franchise, even though it's the biggest media franchise in the world, only fans of that franchise specifically would end up really tuning in the most. But you want to build like a lot of social media hype, which we started to see afterwards, where they start rolling out more and more, not only just details, but now they're doing this Pokemon 30th anniversary thing, which, let me see if I could look it up on Cerebi. Basically, because they're celebrating Pokemon 30th anniversary, what they have decided to do is they have released logos of every single Pokemon in existence as part of their 30th anniversary. So every Pokemon will have their own individual thing, even if they have different forms. A lot of them have different little insignias, like patterns inside, like so for example, like they'll have Growlithe, right? Oh, if I can click on it again. Oh, let's go. I just saw, actually, let's do, this is Pikachu. Well, see, that's named, because I'm looking at it the wrong way. So this is Pikachu, right? And then they'll show Raichu. See how Raichu's, the dark part of Raichu's tail on the very bottom right? And then they'll have Alolan Raichu, which they show the entire pattern of the whole Pokemon. So they do this for a lot, and they go through all the forms for a lot of Pokemon, especially ones that have multiple forms. So they did it for every single one, and now they're not crazy. Look, they have a Shellos, Westie, EC, for both of the Shellos and Gastrodon. But they're not going to do it for like Spinda, who has like 4 billion variations. And I believe they should have done it for Vivillon. but they do it for all the new things. So because they've been putting out stuff like this and more promo material, it makes you think that like, well, maybe this was something that they were ramping up toward. Maybe this was something that was planned after the presents. You know, who knows? But it feels like this builds more hype. You want to build hype towards something and not build hype after the fact, because it kind of, where does it lead? This feels more natural. So it makes me think that this was the plan from the get-go, where they really just wanted to, they really just planned this leak. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't necessarily oh, you know, they caught us. So one of the other things about this is that they're releasing both of these games for $20 a piece. And $20 a piece, now there's a separate conversation, separate arguments that people are having on the internet, as you can see, is that people don't think that it's worth $20. Why do people feel like it's not worth $20? Well, technically $40, because one, it's $20 for the language, for one version of it, and that language that you speak. So if you want both Fire Red and Leaf Green, you have to pay $20 separately, and in that language that you speak or want to play in, whatever. You know, I know there's speedrunners who prefer one language over the other. The other thing is that there's no compatible online. These are separate standalone titles. Because they're separate standalone titles, they have made it very clear in their listing that there's no online connectivity. That basically the only online connectivity is local. So you have to have somebody next to you, near you, or like, yeah, just basically within your actual vicinity. Very old school, which I like. I like that concept. I know it's not very modern. It's very anti-efficient. It's not very efficient at all. It's very going back to its roots. And I think that's kind of cool, because way too many of you guys are way too comfortable with just being online all the time and not being like, and not even trying to pretend to be a real person anymore. You guys are like, literally, I see things online all the time of like people being like, oh yeah, well, it's easier this way. I don't want to talk to everybody. You know what I'm saying? But fine, you don't have to talk. Just because you have social anxiety doesn't make you have to be like a jerk. Maybe there's opportunity. And then for a person like me, who is not very social and has a lot of problems becoming friends with people and getting along with people, genuinely, that this kind of forces my hand to be more social, and I don't feel bad about that. And you know, it's whatever. So it's $20. There may or may not be Pokemon Home compatibility, and there is no online. So people feel like, well, I'm being stiffed. And what's the point when you can get it for free? You could do it for free. If you emulate this, you could get it for free. And I was like, well, everybody knows. First of all, this is an emulation. They're emulating the game for you by buying it. It's not like they built it from the ground up and put it on the Switch. The Switch has like this emulator system, and Nintendo has this emulator system that they've been putting in to be able to play all these games. So this is going to be very similar. The people who have this weird ass argument saying like, if I could have bought it, if I could have had it for free on my phone or whatever, using Delta, using all these emulators these days, or a hacked or modded system, what's the point of actually purchasing this game? And I made 2 TikToks about it. And one, the first TikTok, or my first talking point about this, was that it's good that this is happening, and it's worth it. It's worth it just for the home compatibility. And for those who feel like you can just get this through an emulator and anything like that, you can transfer that stuff to home. And if you can, which I've seen people break down, oh, if I do X, Y, and Z, I can do that. One, this is why Pokemon Home has had issues in the very beginning, is because you go through these third-party like avenues and programs in order to get your legitimate Pokemon into home, and it makes it tougher for us who are actually trying to collect our Pokemon in the first place. And then the second thing is, on top of that, is that when you do that, you have to ask yourself, is it easier? Is it less expensive? Because let's be honest, let's be real honest here. You're telling me that you say it's free because you're doing it through an emulator, then you move them to a hacked or modded system, and then they can go to home. You are saying that's easier. It doesn't make sense to me that that's easier, because the step in between of doing that, there's multiple steps. Hacking or modding your system was one. Second, first of all, getting whatever system that is. Let's say you don't have that system. Getting and risking all the risks that come with hacking and modding that system. Second is being able to know what you're doing. So purchase is a huge purchase. Let's say it's a 3DS, right? A 3DS these days go for $200. What's the point? What's the point, right? Then I gotta hack or mod it. This is what allegedly they do. I do not participate. They'll do that, correct, right? And then they have to go through an entire process on their PC in order to do it. Or they do it from their phone to that to this. It's too many steps. You know what's easier? I have a Switch. I pay $20. I play the game. I upload it. How simple is that? That's so simple. It's ease of access is why it's important. And the Pokemon Home compatibility is perfect. You know why? Because there hasn't been, as much as we had Pokemon Let's Go Eevee and Let's Go Pikachu, and that's going back to the Kanto region. And if you had other games, hell, if you even had the original Fire Red, if you had all the systems available to you, you could have transferred all your Pokemon from there to now. So to you, you're a specific audience, you're a very specific person in that situation in which this doesn't really apply to you. But for everybody else, you got to understand, Fire Red and Leaf Green have not had any kind of re-release in any way whatsoever, ever, like at all, like nothing. It's never had it, because Nintendo's not like that. Nintendo's not like that. The Pokemon company's not like that. And if you're my last point is, if you're really upset about $20, first of all, let me spend my money the way I want to, right? If you're really upset about $20, about going back to the first generation, if you're gonna mass appeal to an audience, if you're gonna look to the audience that you want the most to get from, what do you need? You need to get the ones who spend the most money, which is my generation right now. My generation right now, a little bit before me, the Gen Xers, and older Gen Z have money. And if you have money, you're a target audience to spend. So what does that really mean? You have to broaden the spectrum of what you want people to buy. And the easiest way to do that, the absolute easiest cash grab here, is Gen 1 through 3, easy, no matter what you think. Gen 1 through 3 has been proven to be financially successful, no matter the years later. So, and where's the proof of this? Am I just talking out my ass? No, because what ended up happening is that if you go, and I'll show you this now, and this was on my second TikTok. If you go and check, truly go and check. And what I'm talking about here, because you see what's number 4 already off rip, it proves my point. It's number 4, right? But what I'm talking about here is re-releases of the old games. And they did this before, and they proved that it works really well. They're like, we want people to play red, blue. This is 10 years ago. We want people to play red, blue, and yellow. And we're going to put it on the Nintendo 3DS eShop, and we're going to make them $10 a piece, right? They came out in 2016. When it did that, it sold so much. Also, the other thing was, so not only was it that it was $10, it was the first 3, red, blue, and yellow, but it was compatible with Pokemon Home at the time, right? So it's very, very particular. Or at the time it was called Pokemon Bank, but it was Pokemon Home, right? So that is very important, because they released those 3. It does so well that a year later they released Gold, Silver, and Crystal, and that also was successful. And you want to know why? Because look at what's number fucking 42. Red, green, blue, and yellow. One of the best selling games on the 3DS. One of the best selling games on the 3DS was red, green, blue, and yellow. 1.5 million sold, right? And because it was 1.5 million sold, this is altogether these are games here. You can see there's Bravely Default, there's Zelda games, Street Fighter, Kingdom Hearts. They're including all games for the 3DS. Now, what I'm talking about specifically, right, is that if this was here at number 42, that means on the eShop it was top 10. That means Gold, Silver, and Crystal, top 10. That means everybody who owned the 3DS at one point or another, you were a very small percentage of people who, if you didn't buy any of these Pokemon games on the 3DS, why you had a 3DS. Almost everybody who had a 3DS had a Pokemon game, and a huge portion of them had like a virtual console version of the first two generations. And the fact that you can see on here that number 4 is the remake for Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire tells you a lot. It tells you a lot about how much money we're willing to spend to play a Pokemon game. It's not a joke. People cannot act like it's not worth something. It's completely worth something. And it makes a lot of sense that they would do this, right? So I completely disagree with the notion that it's not worth it. I completely disagree that it's a cash grab or anything like that, right? And it's important to understand that. Why is it important to understand? For me, for a person, a degenerate millennial, as I like to say, they cater to me a lot. Pokemon caters to me probably way too much, and that's fine for me. But I understand that if this is successful, and they've proven it to be successful, like I just said, if this is successful, that means all the other generations come also. And you know why? Because the Switch 2 was just released. This isn't at the very end of the Switch 1's life and then they're trying to make it still work and they don't have a Switch 2 out. The Switch 2 is about to be 1 year old now. It's 10 months old. Now you can push this out. You can push out all the other games forever. Like all the old ports, you could bring them all out. $20, $30. Bro, I'll pay 30, 40 for Heart Gold, Soul Silver. Give me a port of Heart Gold, Soul Silver. Give me $30. That's nothing, bro. That's nothing. I already pre-ordered both of these games. I still have a Switch 1. I'm gonna play the game, load it up on one and load it up on the other, and put bada bing bada boom, and that's it. Like, we move on. It's not rocket science, people. And to prove that people, no matter how much people complain about it, like this, where they say 2 Game Boy Advance ROMs for $40, no enhancement, no online play, and they like to throw this. Oh, the Ace Attorney Chronicles comes with 2 3DS games and it's beautiful and it's $40. All the Castlevania games, the Mega Man games, you know, like they like to talk about these things. But you know why is the difference between all of them is that a lot of these are franchises that have a smaller audience than Pokemon. They have to do this. And it's not without any kind of fanfare. The only reason we're getting the Mega Man Star Force Legacy Collection is because the first Mega Man collection did well. The first one, the one for the original Mega Man games, did so well that we pushed them to give us X. And we pushed them and then we got Mega Man X collection, all the Mega Man X games. They did very well, but you know what happened between Mega Man X and the Mega Man Battle Network releases? A huge gap, because they weren't sure if the Mega Man Battle Network games would actually sell. Was there interest? They put out surveys when they did Resident Evil games. They put out like any type of remasters. When they did the Marvel vs. Capcom stuff, they included, would you like ports of other games? Would you like a bunch of releases, a bunch of, like, is this something that's more appealing to you? And Battle Network was on there. And what happens? They put Battle Network on there as a collection. It really sold well. It sold really well, and they're like, you know what, the last bit, let's throw in Mega Man Zero, of another Mega Man franchise, another Mega Man series of games that didn't do well, didn't have that big of an audience. And then, you know, like the last thing to do now is Star Force. Capcom understands that you bundle all these games together when they had a very small audience. You're gonna make it more palatable, and it works. It sells. Put them together. You have to add a bunch of features because you need to reach the widest audience possible, because the audience for these games were already so small. They're catering to a small audience. It's not Pokemon. Pokemon is very broad. They'll get away with the worst business practices, but they're very obvious about their business practices. They're very in your face about it. You know, I'm not saying this as an apologist or like to be a Nintendo defendant or a Pokemon defendant. I just understand why they're doing something, the explanation of why it makes sense, and why they would ever do this, you know? Now, again, I'll talk about the home stuff afterwards, but this is what I think. And people are gonna think, oh, you know, it's not gonna sell well. Of course it's not gonna sell well. Or they're like, well, what's the point? Nobody's gonna buy this if it's just emulation. Well, what do we see? Topping the eCharts despite price backlash, because people are like, oh, it should have been 20. It shouldn't have been $20. It should have been 10. It should have been 5. Because what's the point if you could just emulate things these days? Let me tell you something. You could have emulated this since the early 2000s. People act like the internet is new, like the computers are new, or emulation is new. Emulation's been around forever. So that's not a new concept, and that's not a good argument to have. But what ends up happening is that their game is working. Nintendo's game plan is working. They did this, and now it's at the top of the eShop charts. You know what was top of the eShop charts not that long ago? The Final Fantasy VII Remake and then Rebirth. Why? Because they know that if you want to reach the widest possible audience that you can get, it'll be Nintendo. It'll be Switch as a Nintendo. And if you can make it work, you're gonna sell a lot. That is why the focus of all 3 Final Fantasy games, the trilogy, they're trying to do everything they can, thankfully because of the Switch 2's actual prowess, that they're gonna have all 3 parts of the trilogy on the Switch come out at the same time. You know, like the part 3 is gonna come out on the other consoles at the same time. But it's important to have these things because it sells well. You don't think Nintendo's gonna do the same thing for their own platform? You don't think they're gonna go ahead and turn around and be like, yo, we need to put out more Pokemon games because it's not gonna, you think it's not gonna sell well? Do this again. I swear, if in a year they'll do it again, in 2 years they do it again, it's gonna sell just as much because it's that big and that important, and people really love it. Okay, so that's my rant for like the Fire Red and Leaf Green discussions. It's why I feel like people are they're just acting like jerks. They're like, you guys and your Pokemons, I can do it for free on my phone. And then you see on Twitter when they put it out, it's like, oh, look at me, I'm doing this, I don't have to pay $20. They never make it past the title screen. Every screenshot you see online is that they're never past the title screen. Never. You never see them like, oh, by the way, I completed the Pokedex. Oh, by the way, I beat the Elite Four. Oh, this is my team when I was playing on the emulator. No, it's always the fucking title screen. And those guys are bad. Those guys are jerks. They don't even really care about video games, in my opinion. They only care about what makes them look cool. You know, same thing with like the Logan Paul thing.